Why, hello, folks. Didn't see you there. My bad. I was distracted. Sorry, Christy. I've been wrapped up in my phone watching bangers roll in all night. What bangers, you ask? Why, the ones I pump out every day with Odd Shopper. Are you interested in mildly annoying your significant other day in, day out via obsessive, non-stop celebrations over your successful gambling? Then give Odd Shopper a try. You can find the link to their tools via the show notes or at goodjujubets.net. Use our link when you register and give us a shout when you're signed up. We are happy to help get you started to more money in your pocket and less attention given to your loved ones.
We can't lose. No, we can't lose.
Enjoy it while it lasts. Gambling gods, fickle bunch. Oh yeah, so easily affected.
We have a shooter and a good one coming out for a new point. Get your bets down, ladies and gentlemen. He's a rolling point is 9, place 9. 9 a winner. Got a hot hand. Place your bets, ladies and gentlemen.
They bet on absolutely anything. Don't make them prove it.
Oh, yeah.
Do you think that edge is still going to be there this year?
Certainly hope so. I try not to talk about it too much because I don't want folks to catch on.
You're tuned in to Gambling with Good Juju.
Welcome in, everybody, to Gambling with Good JuJu, where our madness lasts year-round. On today's show, we are beyond excited to be joined by the one and only Derek Carty. Derek is going to share with us how he got into the business of projecting how often grown men hit a ball where 9 other men can't get it. We also talk the details of his methodology and find out just how pumped he was to appear on Baseball Tonight. But before we get into that, the college basketball tournament is here, but we're talking Justin Fields to the Steelers instead. I'm kidding. Obviously, we're going to talk about both those things. Not just that, but Juice is cleaning out his keeper, and we're going to run through his rambling thoughts on everything in the world of this show. Pressure. I like it. I'm excited. It's a new segment, everyone. It's going to be great. We start off with the big story everyone is following this week, dominating the headlines. It's all the sports world is wrapped up in right now. That's right, folks. Justin Fields was traded to the Steelers. Instant reaction. No, not from the host on our show who tries to be smart about football. Juice, what did you think of our beloved Bears moving Fields to the Steelers for a 6th and maybe a 4th?
Well, I was glad to not have 2 quarterbacks on the team next year.
Really? That's the one thing I was disappointed about.
It's the one thing you were hoping for, 2 quarterback sets. But I didn't want to see the old start Justin Fields for 2.5 games and then off with his head, and then Caleb Williams comes out and gets hurt or stinks, and then go back to Justin Fields. I wasn't ready for that. Worst case scenario in my head.
I just wasn't that worried about it with Caleb Williams. Like, I knew he was going to get traded. Like, I wasn't worried he wasn't going to get traded.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, I was just kind of left wondering,
What if?
What happened here? What did you make of it, Kurt?
I mean, it was a long time coming.
Right.
Like I read a tweet the other day that 2 months ago, people were thinking the Bears were going to get a first for him or second.
Sure.
And then we talked about that last week or 2 weeks ago, and that kind of just dissipated to a 5th.
Somebody take him.
And then, somebody take him off our hands.
Yep.
Why isn't he being valued higher, though? That's what I don't understand. I'm surprised why any Steelers fan would be more excited to watch Russell Wilson line up behind center over Fields. Wilson isn't hitting new highs here.
Sure.
Right.
It's not about the fans necessarily, right?
Like, they went in 1 year from the excitement over Kenny Pickett slinging around in the preseason, like Kurt said, to now having a quarterback who folks would have been every bit as excited about, backing up a quarterback who is, a productive NFL quarterback, but in the later stages of his career and hasn't overwhelmed in recent years.
Like typical Bears fashion, Justin Fields could come out of this, start the second half of the season, become the starter next year, and look way better than Caleb Williams.
Let's say the Bears traded the number 1 overall pick and decided they weren't going to draft a quarterback, but they signed Russell Wilson. And they had Russell Wilson and Justin Fields. How would you be feeling?
Well, that's going in the wrong direction because you wouldn't bring Russell Wilson in to start ahead of Justin Fields, right?
I don't understand why Russell Wilson is starting over Justin Fields on any team. Like, I don't get it. We've seen so many flashes from Justin Fields, and everyone was like, "Yeah, the Bears are broke." Is it that he's not? Is he done? Do you think Justin Fields is done? Either one of you?
What's that guy that went to the Steelers or the Seahawks?
Geno Smith.
Geno Smith.
Yeah, there's his future.
You think
I said
Fields?
that. I said that a year and a half ago.
But it took Geno Smith 7 years, right?
Exactly. That's my point. I don't think he was ready to be a quarterback yet.
Did Geno Smith come into the league with the same pedigree?
I mean, yeah.
First round draft pick for the
draft pick
Jets,
for the
New
Jets.
York.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of with you on that, Juice. Like, it's going to take some time. But in the meantime, he's got playmaking ability. He's just not good in the pocket.
Like the Geno
Right?
Smith.
You guys watched Justin Fields in the pocket. He's just not.
Right.
He's not good in the pocket, and it's hard to win when you're not good in the pocket. But at the same time, if he gets in there, Russell Wilson gets hurt. He can make plays with his legs. He can make plays outside the pocket on the run, and they can at least win some games with him.
Did Geno Smith back up Russell Wilson in Seattle? Because if he did, that's hilarious. That Pittsburgh is trying to do the same exact playbook.
I think you might be right.
Yeah, there you go. They're no
I think
dummies.
you might be right.
So the Seahawks were prepping Geno Smith under Russell Wilson.
Well, maybe not. Who knows? But it worked
Yeah.
out that way.
Yeah, they've been trying to get
Russ.
rid of Russell Wilson for a while.
Hey, Russ, we're thinking about getting Justin Fields. Can you turn him into Geno Smith? Yeah, probably, boss. Send a check.
I do think the Steelers are like they're in this weird spot, right? Because they bring in Russell Wilson and they want just a veteran presence at the quarterback position
To get their 8 wins.
Right.
Yeah.
They want to be stable at the quarterback position. They bring in Justin Fields to kind of, let him learn the offense, right? Because it's going to be another new offensive coordinator, another new offense. They're not going to start him right away.
Right.
Russell Wilson's basically the 1 year bridge gap to Justin Fields.
Yeah, half a year.
Yeah.
He's going to get hurt, right?
Maybe.
But yeah, he's totally the insurance plan. So
Yeah.
you don't have to start Justin Fields already. But they wouldn't have traded for him if they didn't think there was going to be potential in him in the future.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So you said last week, Kurt, that you thought Trevor Lawrence was going to be who he is.
Yeah.
You don't think the same about Justin Fields?
That's a good question. I mean, it all depends. Like, we've seen Trevor Lawrence, we've seen the best of him, and we've kind of seen the worst of him. And I think he's kind of in between the middle. What we haven't really seen from Fields is like consistency. His best consistency, right? Like the best quarterback of himself for a long period of time. We've seen like just these games, these stretches of 3-4 games where he just looks great. And then he has these stretches of 5 games where it's like, my God, you can't throw a 10-yard pass, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
So I think it's a little bit different between those two quarterbacks. Trevor Lawrence had that really good second year. And then last year, he just kind of threw up a dud. And now I think he's somewhere in between those two. So we've seen the low point from him and a high point from him.
To your point, Peter, there's some really exciting stuff about Justin Fields, right? And that's why he's going to get an additional opportunity or two.
Right.
Over the haul.
Yeah, he's the best running quarterback in the NFL.
Right. That's neat.
Personally, look, at the end of the day, I could care less what the details of the move are. Point here is we have fresh hope coming to the Bears with
Absolutely.
Caleb Williams, right? And it feels like this is the closest we've truly come in our entire lives to landing a QB worth giving a second contract to.
Which is like exactly where we were when we started this podcast.
We aren't asking for Patrick Mahomes. We aren't asking for 3 Super Bowls, but 10 years of the same guy at QE with consistent competitiveness year in, year out, in the hopes of getting a Super Bowl title somewhere along the way. We deserve that. Welcome home, Caleb.
I think he's going to be a stud.
We love
his
you.
rookie year.
We love you already. One final note on all this. Rest in peace, Captain Justin Fields.
Yeah, is that an unfollow for you now?
I don't know. No, I'm not going to unfollow. I don't know. Is Captain Caleb Williams going to come up?
Oh, possibly.
Yeah.
Should probably hop on that right now.
If this guy who runs for the record, Captain Justin Fields is a Twitter account for everyone, and he posted about being a general.
Right, for absolutely
The Army.
everyone out there that doesn't know what we're talking about.
Right.
Yeah.
And he would post updates.
Like Civil War style.
Yeah. It was like he was writing from the front lines of the Civil War.
He did it for Andrew Luck.
We march upon the
really?
fields of the cheese
Yeah.
or whatever. The
Yeah.
battalion.
Well, only a couple weeks until draft day.
Yeah, I'm excited. I have no bets still.
Same.
Whatever. All right. We're introducing a new segment to the show this week. Something we seem to be doing more and more lately, which is a good thing. I think.
Seeing what sticks.
Yep, right. We'll see what happens. It's Trapper Keeper cleanup time with Juicy. That's right, folks. RJ here has been collecting a random assortment of news and notes in his Trapper Keeper that we haven't had the time to get to in recent weeks. So we're cleaning up the keeper. Someone let the folks that own Trapper Keeper branding know that 3 40-year-old men have advertising space available on a show that all the cool 90s kids listen to. We swear. All the cool kids from the 90s. I heard that Vanilla Ice listens. Juice, what's the old Trapper Keeper got today?
Well, since we're following up the Justin Fields report, which we'll obviously keep tabs on him all year, let's go down to the actual Chicago Bears report.
Oh, can't wait.
Okay. Tyler Scott, not a future Hall of Famer.
Who is Tyler Scott? Wait, he's a receiver, right?
Keenan Allen,
Oh,
definitely unanimous future Hall of Famer, correct?
Yes.
correct.
Caleb Williams, first round draft pick.
Yes. Okay. I'm sorry that I cut you off there. What's going on here?
Who gets to wear number 13?
Keenan Allen.
Allen.
Yeah, you think so?
Yeah.
Is it Tyler Scott?
Well, he currently has it, but he's null and void at this point, right?
So it's Keenan Allen or Caleb Williams?
Well, Keenan Allen has the money to say, hey,
I don't know. Caleb Williams.
I
has
don't
that
know.
Dr. Pepper deal where he walks
That's
under
true.
ladders wearing number 13.
that's true.
Okay.
That's a fascinating question.
That's a good question.
Kind of neat,
Wait,
right?
have you looked into this?
What do you mean?
Has anyone said anything about this?
No, because right, Keenan Allen didn't show up and say, "Hey, I'm 13," no matter what quarterback you draft, right? So
Right.
that wasn't part of the deal.
Right.
So we'll see. Time will tell. Don't get your jerseys made yet,
Okay.
I guess.
I think it's Tyler Scott.
Yeah, right. We'll just keep it with Tyler Scott. Maybe check eBay for Tyler Scott jerseys so you can swap the names. Okay, moving on to the ever important gambling news of the day.
Okay. Gambling.
Tropicana officially closing April 2nd. Opened in 1957. Either of you said you never been? Have you been?
I think we went to Tropicana when we first went out to
Look,
Vegas a couple times.
You're asking me where
Yeah.
I went in my early days in Vegas. I have no chance of remembering 90% of the places.
I walked through there with my suitcase once. Anyway, all right. North Carolina, welcome to sports gambling.
Yay.
Yeah, hey, welcome to the show, North Carolina. We're happy to have you.
That was excessive. All right. Now, in other fake news, Bruno Mars allegedly owes the MGM Grand $50 million.
I saw that.
Yeah, is that fake news?
Nobody's saying it is true yet. So, two key takeaways here. Probably not true. And everything you read on the internet is probably fake. And he's also probably not very good at gambling.
I was going to say he's definitely not playing Baccarat.
Is this casino gambling that he has debts?
That's the alleged. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, has
I don't think
Bruno
he's-
Mars done a residency in Vegas?
Oh, yeah.
He has.
I'm pretty sure he lives there now.
Is there a chance he pays off this debt via a residency he does for free?
That's kind of the running gag on the internet, yeah.
I nailed the running
Yeah.
gag. I had no idea, audience, about this
Yeah,
story.
the old, he's never going to make another dollar again. We own his ass.
Yeah.
A la Frank Sinatra. Last,
How much
but
do we think Bruno Mars has made?
More than 50 million.
But
Yeah.
if he lost 50 million, if he owes 50 million in gambling, that's just what he owes now. How
Yeah.
much did he lose of
That's
his
true.
wealth?
That's true. That's
or how much did he keep of his wealth?
Like, is he broke?
I have no idea of that, but
Yeah.
who knows, right? Who knows?
You're never broke when you can have that earning power.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Now, the mecca, the epicenter of the gambling universe, the Paradise Casino in East Peoria.
Should we talk about the Paradise on every episode now?
Shaking a few things. Oh, we should.
Okay. Go ahead. They should be a future sponsor of the show.
Absolutely. If they had any marketing budget, they would be. Shaking a few things up. One, I got to report the craps table Muggsy's Corner is back. the very, very popular side bet I've never seen anyone once place. And more importantly, I have literally walked up and down all 3 floors of this casino 5 times now looking for it. And I am so sad to report the Sky Wheel is gone.
No, it's not.
It is.
It is gone.
Wait, you know this too?
And we tried to go play it.
We tried to go play it.
You guys are just dropping this on me now. This is like a surprise bomb you're putting on me. The Sky Wheel's gone.
The Sky Wheel is gone, sir.
We were going to go to the Sky Wheel and fake a jackpot with the Sky Wheel picture in the background of Stevie hitting it and sending it to you in a text.
That was literally the plan.
We could not find the machine.
Do I have a new cause? Did we just discover I got to get it back?
Right, obviously.
So where do I write the first letter?
Right, probably the Twitter handle, right? Because they're very responsive on there.
Well, it's Boyd Casinos, so maybe I should use like Western Union or Pony Express or something that they still use over at Boyd Gaming.
Absolutely. Send them out. What, Telegram?
Yeah. Do you think that the show Ozark was based on Boyd Gaming?
Oh, interesting.
I don't know.
Who has more casinos in the Ozarks than Boyd? Right? Is that...
Do they have... Okay, I don't know.
I would assume that Boyd... What would be the first casino name that would come to your mind if you think of a casino in the Ozarks?
I don't know any casinos in the Ozarks.
Yeah, I don't know either.
It's a Boyd property.
Yeah.
I bet there's a good number.
Fascinating.
Or I don't know. I don't know.
knows, right?
I don't know how Missouri
You can't even
is.
sports bet in Missouri.
Missouri has casinos on the river, but are those Illinois casinos on the river that you have to...
Might have to take a deep dive.
I don't know.
Deep dive.
No one knows. Okay. Anything else on general gambling, Ryan?
I think that'll do it.
What else we got?
News of the day. All right, now back to my personal gambling situation. ESPN zonked.
All right, give us an update. What do you have and what have you lost?
So I can bet $10 on ESPN Bet. Few more dollars than that on DraftKings. It's going to be really challenging to reach my goal, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm considering possibly once a week change of scenery. I've already looked into co-working spaces in Iowa. Maybe a coffee shop to try it out at first. Go, drive to work, right? Hour and 10 minutes, boom, boom, boom. Have some coffee, take my meetings, bet on Bet365, get my $1,000 risk-free bet, get my free play at the casino, see if I can pull that off.
Daily or once a week? Is that what you said?
Yeah, maybe once a week, once a month. I don't know.
Is there a plan B? Because no MGM, essentially no DraftKings, no ESPN Bet, and no Bet Rivers. I mean, you are
no points bet, which
no points bet.
Yeah,
you have FanDuel and Caesars
and Circa.
You're
Circa.
handcuffed.
It's getting dicey.
Can we take a step back? Have we discussed DraftKings on this podcast with you?
No.
What happened? I thought DraftKings was one that you got to keep for a good long time.
Yeah, I think I did. I was afraid they were going to be the first to go.
Why?
The next to go. Just because of the volume I was doing on there. It seemed like I was placing 80% of my bets on DraftKings.
Do you think you ran it up too fast, too hard?
I mean, we could certainly speculate. Had I not doubled and then doubled my unit size over the past couple of months, what it might have been different. But you live and you learn. So now I just have to juice reduce. So I'm playing whatever they'll let me get down, and it's a different amount every single time, which is super annoying. And then go to the SGP and pull some minus 300s on with it. And I'm putting like 4 or 5 of them on there.
And you get a higher limit on the wager if you do that?
I don't appear to have any limit if I do it SGP. That's how scammy they are, ladies and gentlemen.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah.
There should be some, regulation, right?
Yeah.
And you think this is going to prove profitable?
Well, I'm obviously being a weirdo about it and tagging it extensively. So after a couple of weeks, maybe 100, 150 bets, I'll share my results. Because I kind of proposed it last week, why don't you just juice reduce basketball?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like 1 steal, 1 block, 2 assists. I'm throwing all this weird stuff on the game.
I mean, hopefully that gets your limits back up.
Maybe, right?
Oh.
Or, best case scenario, it's more profitable and they never catch on. Right, that's the best case scenario.
That too.
Or maybe it gets me back in good graces.
But if you're $10 on ESPN Bet and you said you're barely above that on DraftKings.
Yeah.
Like, how are you making it even worth your while with a $10, $15 bet
Right. So I got to do a lot of juice reducers.
to get it up to like plus 400?
Well, so I'm doing it like 4 or 5 times.
Oh,
So I can go
got
at
you.
the bet an unlimited amount of times as long as it's an SGP. I can't do that with a regular parlay.
Aha.
Yeah. So that's what I'm doing.
So you don't have higher bet limits. You're just able to hit it more often with the SGP.
Well, I did test that. I don't think I have a limit with the SGP.
So why not just place one full unit wager?
Right. And choose one leg to reduce my variance.
Oh, I get it.
Yeah. So it's like all these weird dudes to get like one steal, basically.
And you're able to keep up your volume and bet dollar volume.
Yeah, for the most part. Sometimes they take it down before I get to the SGP, which stinks. But
That's got to be ridiculously time consuming too.
it's not easy, but I'm getting better at it.
Okay. Unbelievable. What a crack.
I was hoping I was going to make it till baseball season. That was the plan. And I was 1 week short.
I think we all need to look at Kurt and ask, what is he doing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They just keep giving me VIP stuff.
I mean, he's passed you on the bankroll
Yeah.
charting now.
Nah, we're probably about the same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe. Okay, fine.
Whatever.
Fine.
Yeah.
But you just keep getting your VIP now on Bet Rivers.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
He gets made VIP on one of the books known for cutting you off.
They wouldn't take $1.30 for me for the Jaguars to win the Super Bowl.
Unbelievable.
You haven't even been juice reducing.
No.
You're just hitting them with the regular odd chopper board, right?
Yep.
Well, plan B, obviously, is I ask my wife if she's interested in learning how to bet on hockey props.
I have already informed my wife that at some point she will be called into service.
And I have already contacted Therese.
So we have our next round of outs
Right.
locked in until they're like, no, Christy lives at the same address as you.
Yeah, you're going to have to get smarter than that, pal. We're talking P.O. boxes.
Perfect.
I'll figure it out for you.
You'll be there first, so I'll know exactly what to do. All right, last topic before we get it. Did you have fun with that? Did you enjoy your first ever Trapper Keeper segment?
Well, now that I know, it's like I could just make any top 3 lists. Yeah, game on.
I mean, we don't have to do that every week.
Sure.
But what I'm saying is you collect a few thoughts in your head and let's have a go with it.
Let's have a go with it. Needs like
excited.
intro music.
That's okay. That's what I keep thinking about so much of this.
Yeah.
If we could just get someone to do work for us. Right? Because we have segments, we could do intros for them.
Yeah.
We could do the video and overlay it with stuff if we had someone doing it for us, but we don't.
Yeah.
If anyone out there wants an internship, you see, people, we don't make money off of this, so we can't give people money off of this. but
Right.
We would be happy to write you a letter of recommendation if you did our work.
This would be a huge, absolute huge feather in your cap on your resume. Gambling with Good JuJu.
Yeah.
Let that resonate for a minute.
Hit us up. goodjujubets@gmail.com. Resume, 7 references, and
Yeah, blood type.
your latest blood work is what I was thinking.
Mother's maiden name. And you have to sign us up for 3 burner Bet Rivers accounts.
All right, college basketball. Who you got and why? We're going to talk about it.
'Tis the season.
That's right, folks. The brackets are out, and Breezy has never been more excited to have his own little broadcast signal from which he can spout off about all things NCAA tournament. First of all, gentlemen, welcome into the greatest week on my annual sports calendar.
Mm.
It's a pleasure to have you on the college basketball bandwagon for the next 4 days. Until you realize you still don't like watching children play basketball. And tell me to let you know when the garage will be open for the national championship game. Does that sound about right?
That sounds correct.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. All right. So let's run through the initial thoughts on the bracket, and I'm going to start.
Okay.
Personally, not mad with Illinois' half of their bracket.
Mm.
But let's get into this. Holy smokes, what a hose job given to the supposed number 1 overall team. UConn gets to potentially face last year's Final Four team, FAU, in the second round. then potentially face either last year's national championship runner-up, San Diego State, or the most criminally underseeded team in the tournament this year, in my humble opinion, Auburn. Then, if they make it through that, they will 100% be playing Illinois in a game they're probably 25-point dogs in. Good luck, number 1 seed in the tournament. My butt. Thoughts on that?
Still picking them.
Couldn't help but notice they had the shortest odds to win it all. So, too, I have chosen for my bracket to win.
So not to give away the goods here, boys, but you're both taking UConn to win the national title, despite the fact that they have probably the hardest road.
Yeah, I don't see why not. Battle tested, battle ready. Let's go.
They won last year, right?
They won last year.
Yeah. Back to back. Has anybody done that? Is that a thing?
Billy Donovan did it at Florida.
Oh, yeah. Al Horford.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah.
Joakim Noah.
Mike Miller.
It's a Mike Miller minute.
I did not know that. Mike Miller was on there?
Mike Miller, Florida University.
Huh.
During that era? He was on that
First
team?
round pick of the Orlando Magic.
Wow.
Panned out well.
Not really.
No, I know. Because I'm not sure who you're talking about, if I'm being honest with you. All right. Seriously, though, my biggest beef, you got it wrong here, committee,
Sure.
is Auburn.
Agreed.
One of the scariest teams in the country, peaking at the right time. Bart Torvik has them as the 5th best team in the country.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. They just didn't have the quality wins, but to seed them against UConn feels like an unfair shake to both teams. Like if they both make it to the Sweet 16, because it's college basketball, that's certainly not a given. But if they do, that's like a national championship caliber game taking place in the Sweet 16.
Huh.
So I didn't love that. But as far as Illinois is concerned, I'll take Morehead State, BYU, and Iowa State. People keep saying it's a scary path. BYU's been intentionally underseeded. I don't know if you guys want to get into that for a second. Iowa State, metrics darling, playing their best at the right time. I'm sure Illinois will screw this up, but when you look at that, winnable, right?
Yeah. Tell RJ what's up with BYU. This blew my mind.
Yeah.
So BYU is a 4 or a 5 seed. Acknowledged by the committee, they should have been a 5 seed.
Just as like a location thing or what?
But the 4s and the 5s play on Friday, Sunday. And the 6s and 3s play on Thursday, Saturday.
Uh-huh.
So they dropped BYU down to a 6 seed and moved Gonzaga up to a 5 seed so that BYU wouldn't have to play on a Sunday, which they're not allowed to do.
Yeah. Religious purposes.
And Kurt's first thought is somewhat similar to mine. Too bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. Forfeit.
Play when you're scheduled. Forfeit if you don't like it.
That was my first thought.
Yeah.
It bugs me a little bit that like we're intentionally getting the field wrong by
Yeah.
doing this,
Yeah.
but they do it to their own detriment. So it's not like they don't move BYU up for it; they move them down. So what it stinks for is the 3 seed that has to play BYU in the second round of the tournament,
Which is Illinois.
which is Illinois.
Yeah.
So we got hosed there. But you know
Well-
what? It's the NCAA tournament. Everyone, you just got to win your games. You beat the
That's
team
it.
that's in front of you. It doesn't matter. I'm not worried about the bracket of death. Get to the Elite Eight. Let's see what happens, boys. As a result, I think every other region looks a little bit light, you know?
Oh, really?
Right? If you've got one region of death, everything else a little bit light.
So you sharing your final 4 here? Or?
Oh, we'll get to that. in a
Oh, okay,
second.
okay.
I'm giving thoughts on my regions.
Yeah. Okay. Got it.
So that was the thoughts on the East, right?
Mm-hmm.
So let's take a quick look at the West. Let's take a look at the West. Excited to potentially watch St. Mary's, Alabama in the second round. You were just talking that you were like, I don't know about St. Mary's. Their numbers are fantastic.
Yeah.
So is Alabama's. It's one of the teams that we overlooked a little bit because their odds never really got high enough.
St. Mary's?
Yeah.
Huh.
We only looked at the top 25 teams on the odds board or whatever.
Oh.
And now they've just kept creeping up, and now their metrics are all fantastic. They've got Randy Bennett, who's a legendary coach. They've got maybe some good juju on their side. I don't know.
They've been hot. 9-1 in their last 10-0 in their last 10 games, I think. I
Yeah.
saw that.
St. Mary's, huh?
Yeah. And
Okay.
they play Alabama in the second round, who we like a lot.
Yeah.
So then that one of them gets to play UNC, who was light. I kind of thought that the
Yep.
fourth overall number 1 seed was a lot weaker than the other 3. At first, I was like, why is UNC a 1 seed? But then I looked around at the other 2 seeds and I was like, I don't see any of these teams here that should replace them necessarily.
Tennessee or
Yeah. So I like the look of the winner of that St. Mary's Alabama game, giving them a real run.
Well, I've somehow acquired a handful of free bets for ESPN. So maybe I'll pop one on St. Mary's.
To win the title?
Yeah.
Yeah, I did it.
Yeah.
I
They're
used the
they're
free bet.
100 to 1.
That sounds spicy.
Still?
I got them at 100. Did you bet ESPN bet, Pete?
I bet them at 80 to 1
Okay.
a couple days ago.
Okay.
Just because I wanted to cheer for them. That's not a recommended play. That's not what I'm saying we should do.
Right.
I just looked at it as, you know what? I kind of want to cheer for St. Mary's this year.
I don't want to put all these free bets on UConn.
Right. That's ridiculous.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
St. Mary's it is.
So that's also the bracket that has New Mexico. So, New Mexico, Arizona in the Sweet 16.
Yeah.
That's going to be a fun game.
Shout out New Mexico for making it to the tournament.
Shout out New Mexico for being an 11 seed in the tournament and a favorite over Clemson.
That's unbelievable, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know I'm kind of assuming that New Mexico is going to win 2 games to then face off against Arizona, but there's a back history to those 2 programs that go beyond. Arizona was not an initial Pac-12 team.
Mm.
So New Mexico and Arizona's history goes back before the Pac-12 even to the same conference. Like the old whack.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully that happens. They should beat those 2 teams, no problem, right?
Right. Right.
But I did notice they are a favorite against Clemson.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's exactly what you
Unbelievable.
want. And I got it at 1.5, used the boost on it. Now it's 2.5. I look like a genius. Victory lap.
You victory lapping 1 point of CLV.
All right, moving over to the Midwest. Shout out Matt Painter, you luck box. Beating up Kansas, overseeded Gonzaga. Rick Barnes as the 2 seed.
Yeah, I looked at the Midwest and just it's god awful. I mean, if Purdue doesn't win at least 3 games in this tournament, then Painter is cursed.
So first of all, they got 2 home games,
Do they really?
which is unbelievable, right?
Do they really?
They're playing in Indiana.
For the first round?
The first 2 games.
That's fair. That's fine. I don't care. Listen, when, not if, when Matt Painter blows this, it's only going to be all the sweeter. Because when you miss this one, you have the easiest path. When you miss this one, everyone's going to know you cannot win a national title. Give me Creighton out of the Midwest. I'm confident I'm going to say that one right now. Creighton out of the Midwest. It's happening.
I'm
In
down.
the South.
I'm down.
Cool. And in the South, it feels like Houston's to lose.
Yeah.
I haven't been on Marquette all year, but I tell you what, a potential matchup with Nebraska in the second round could be scary for Houston. I'm going to give you guys a name, just hold in the back of your mind. And then when it becomes one of the media darling names, you can credit me. His last name's Tominaga, plays for Nebraska. And if they pull off that upset, I predict he will be the star that week of the first round of the NCAA tournament.
For Nebraska.
For Nebraska.
Okay. Tominaga.
Tominaga.
Is it like Tom Managa? Or that's his last name is Tominaga?
He definitely looks like an individual, if you were stereotyping, would not be taken seriously walking onto a playground.
Is he a guard?
He's a guard, and he's going to drop 30.
Okay.
And
It's a
he's,
take.
I mean, he's a gunner.
All right.
He's going to drop 30. Just watch.
Okay.
That's my prediction.
Love it.
All right. Time to get serious here.
Mm.
Who do we like?
Just all the ones where the money lines were the favorites.
So you just
Your
went
dogs.
straight based off the Vegas formula.
Pretty much.
Okay. So using the straight Vegas formula then. Juice.
Yes. New Mexico.
Who is your final 4?
Oh, so I didn't do it for the whole thing, just the first round, of course.
Oh, just the first round.
Yeah.
How did you come to your final 4 conclusions?
Well, I've been listening to you talk about this for 3 months, and I chose those teams.
All right. So who you got in your final 4?
So I think it's UConn and Houston, and then Creighton and Alabama.
I like it.
Yeah.
What about you, Kurt?
I've got Arizona, UConn, and Creighton, and Houston.
So we have 1, 2. Did you say Houston as well?
Mhm.
Okay, so we have 2 consensus picks. We have Houston, because I've got them as well in the Final Four.
Yeah.
And we've got Creighton, a 3 seed. Good Juju Bets is riding Creighton hard. You're both wrong, however. Illinois is going to win the national title. They will win their region. I'm not worried about that. They're going to face Alabama in the Final Four, beat them. Then they're going to face Creighton, who just knocked off Houston in the championship game. Illinois over Creighton. Book it. Don't care about your UConn bets. Illinois win the national title.
Love it.
I would be so happy if that happened.
I would too. Where's the title game at this year?
The national championship game is taking place Monday, April 8th at State Farm Center in Glendale, Arizona. We will not be traveling to that game.
You don't think Alley Giant goes there?
I don't know. But I don't think we are.
Okay, fair enough. We'll watch it in your garage.
LA Giant does go to Scottsdale. How do I know that? Because I pick up my uncle from LA Giant who lives in Arizona.
Well, I will assume Scottsdale is right by Glendale, and we are now flying there for the Illinois Creighton National Championship.
Yeah,
game.
all those Dales are together.
All right, that's going to do it for us, folks. We've got Derek Carty coming up next. Stay tuned for that. Good juju to your bets, and we'll talk again soon. We welcome into the show world-renowned fantasy baseball analyst and creator of the Bat X daily fantasy baseball projection system, Derek Carty. Derek, thanks for taking time to talk with us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. It appears from your background that baseball was always the aim for you. Can you give a little insight into what drove your passion for the sport at such a young age?
Yeah, I mean, I started in baseball. I do football now too, but I mean, baseball and math work so well together. You know, I read Moneyball in high school, and it just made so much sense. Like, I loved math, I loved sports, and you saw how they can work together. And so I just kind of, that was the jumping off point for me.
When you set off to college, was this your goal? Did you already kind of have an idea?
No, I had no idea. I mean, when I set off to college, like, there was you could maybe count on one hand the number of people that were making money in fantasy sports, or, I mean, certainly none in legal sports betting. So I didn't know exactly what the future was going to hold, but I was interested in it, and I kept building, and the industry's obviously grown a lot along the way as well, and it's just worked out nicely.
So can you break down then for the audience a little bit how you got into this? Because just taking a look at your background, it's not like you were out of college when you started this, right? You were freshman, sophomore in college, something like that.
Yeah, I was a freshman in college. I think when I first started doing this stuff, my projection system, the BAT, was I started building that. That was part of my senior thesis in college, and then it just, after that, it just kind of kept growing from there.
Wow. So you made it your senior thesis.
Yep.
You turned your education into your job.
I hope you got an A.
You say college isn't worthwhile. Look at what he did with his college. Not that he couldn't have done it without it, baby.
Derek, were you playing mostly just DFS at that time? DraftKings, FanDuel?
No, at that time, that didn't exist yet. So I was just doing season-long leagues. And then as DFS kind of started to work its way, to become more of a thing, that's when I realized, okay, I should probably take these projections that I've been building, and I should tailor them towards DFS, because this looks like a really cool format. I think it's going to get really popular. No one is doing projections for it whatsoever. As far as I know, I was kind of the first one to do DFS projections, and I think that was a big help.
Now, before we get into the model, and before we break that all down, you also write for Roto Grinders, and you've written for ESPN, and you appear on ESPN occasionally as well. When first did you appear on ESPN?
It was probably, I want to say maybe 2017. It's been a few years now. It was the year before Baseball Tonight essentially got canceled. It was the last year that Baseball Tonight was like a nightly thing. and I was on pretty regularly that year. I was on Sports Center, occasionally that year. For the most part now, my stuff with ESPN just is through the website.
So the first time you were on air with them, is that the biggest thrill of your adult life?
Yeah, that was pretty cool. It's not something I ever really thought was going to happen, and then all of a sudden standing there next to Carl Ravitch and Kurt Schilling and whoever else was on the show at the time, and it's like, all right, I guess I'm here.
Yeah. Derek, I had no idea this part of your existence happened until I looked into you for today's show. And I was like, oh my God, this guy is on Baseball Tonight.
Totally.
Like, that's got to be super cool.
Yeah, pinch yourself moment, right? Yeah.
But you do still work with ESPN through the website?
Yeah, a little bit.
Cool. Very cool. Very cool. Awesome. All right. So let's get into baseball season because that's what we want you here on the show for. We're getting excited for baseball season. We have experience ourselves with your services, just so you know at the outset. But can you offer a quick rundown from your perspective on what the @BatX tool is for folks who are more uninformed?
Yeah, so the BatX is my projection system. Depending on how you want to use it, there's different versions of it. For season-long fantasy, it's for free over at Fangraphs, but for DFS, it's at RotoGrinders. For sports betting, it's at EV Analytics. And essentially, it's this projection system that I've been working on for, I don't know, close to 15 years now. Started as my senior thesis. And it's just a culmination of everything I've learned over my time in the sabermetric community. I started out, again, DFS wasn't a thing. Sports betting wasn't legal. I was basically just in the sabermetric baseball space with the Hardball Times and Baseball Prospectus and learning from really smart people that are now working for major league teams and making decisions for major league teams. And so a lot of the methodology that goes into the system is the same type of stuff that major league teams are using in their own proprietary systems, which I think is really cool. Anything that I think could matter, I study and I put it into the system. So it accounts for more factors, I think, than anything else out there that you'll find. It accounts for, weather factors and umpire factors and the exact positioning of the defense and the spray tendencies of the hitters and where the ball's most likely to go. And obviously ballparks and anything else you can think of, for the most part is in there. And, historically it's done really well.
So does part of your business incorporate relationships and work directly with Major League Baseball teams?
No comment.
I love you, Derek.
One of my follow-up questions to that was, has any Major League Baseball team contacted you to work for them?
I can say yes to that.
You can say yes to that.
There's never been a good fit. It's not something that I really have a strong desire to do. If it was really a great fit, like maybe, but for the most part, I kind of love what I'm doing.
Let's nerd out some on this projection. What do you got?
Cool. Awesome. So, Derek, I've followed you for a long time now, and I watched the cover show religiously with you and Josh. And I've also bet a lot with using your models. And one of the things I've noticed is that the projection model tends to favor a lot of unders, specifically on pitcher props. Can you just give an explanation to us on the value of betting unders before we kind of get in any deeper?
Yeah. So the market is starting to kind of adjust, but kind of the general, rule of thumb among like sharp bettors is unders are going to be better than overs. First, because the books know the public doesn't like to bet unders. The public wants to bet overs. They want to watch the Yankee game and they want to bet on Garrett Cole over 7 strikeouts. They don't want to bet under for him. They want to bet on Aaron Judge to hit a home run. They're not going to bet on Aaron Judge not to hit a home run. Like, it's just, that's what the public wants to do. And so the lines can be shaded a little bit that way in the first place because the books know, okay, more of our action is going to come on the overs from casual bettors. That's become less of a thing in recent years, but it's still there to an extent. And also there's just so many different ways that you can hit an under. You can hit an under because the guy throws too many pitches in the first inning and just doesn't throw enough innings to get to whatever number he needs to get to, or he gets hurt, or he gets ejected, or there's a rain delay and he doesn't come back out, or like there's so many different ways you can hit an under, where an over, it's just like he has to do really, really well and that's it.
Yeah, that's a good explanation. I think we hit a lot of unders last year for rain delays. And that's one of the best things. I love that feeling when the rain comes and it's the second inning and an hour and a half goes by and it's like, we're going to the bullpen, chalk up a win.
Like no
Easy
sweat
win.
at all.
No sweat at all.
Along those lines, last year on the Bad X show, we bet a fair share of player under hits, which specifically singled out players with pinch hitting opportunities.
Oh yeah.
Do you think that edge is still going to be there this year?
I certainly hope so. I try not to talk about it too much because I don't want books to catch on. But yeah, that was a good one last year. So hopefully, I think it's still going to be the case because there's always going to be new guys, moving to new teams and new managers and new tendencies. So, being able to quickly identify which guys are going to be those guys that are going to get pitch hit for, I think is a pretty crucial skill.
Can you explain a little bit why that market is more exploitable? Like, it feels like that's a pretty baseline piece of information, isn't it?
It is, but it's not something that it's not data, I think, that's easily accessible. And it's not something that I think the companies that are making the lines are necessarily thinking about. They're thinking more about, okay, how good is this hitter? How good is the pitcher? What do I know about the park? Maybe some bullpen stuff or like whatever. I think it's viewed more as, and it kind of is, more of like a fringe thing. Like pinch hit risk is only going to affect, a few guys to any real extent. And so they're content to just kind of, throw a blanket over the whole thing and ignore it. But if you can identify those few guys, you can really clean up doing that.
So are you reaching those conclusions based on quantitative or qualitative data?
Quantitative. So it's not that the data isn't available. It's that you can't, as far as I know, you can't go to Fangraphs or Baseball Reference and find the data. It's available if you know where to find it and how to work with it. But it's not like easily accessible where you can just go and say, oh, yeah, these are the guys that get pinch hit for the most. Like, I don't think that leaderboard exists.
And it's not something where you're like getting information from someone on availability that day or anything along those lines. This is just looking at numbers.
Just looking at numbers.
That's cool. Super cool. Is there any other hitting categories that you think are similar in terms of exploitability or anything you're looking at? You probably can't give away all the goods, but
Any more secret sauce, pal?
What are anything you're willing to share in terms of other markets you look at in a similar vein?
I mostly focus on pitching stuff. For hitting stuff, though, historically stolen bases have been pretty good. I think it was 2 or 3 years ago that they were just free money. It was just fantastic. And books eventually caught up a little bit. Last year with the rule changes, stolen bases spiked. There's a little bit of value on them. I think there's a chance we see another spike in stolen bases this year, which I'm kind of curious to see. And if we do, whether the books pick up on it.
I noticed last year using the model, there seems to be a lot of five-star plays on a lot of RBIs and doubles props. I did pretty well with the RBIs, but can you talk about some of the other markets such as home runs? I think there's singles on there, doubles, and we already talked about the stolen bases, but I think there's hits, runs, RBIs on there too.
Yeah, I mean, there's all kinds of stuff you can bet on, and the bat, projects everything. So whatever there's a market for, there's going to be a projection for. I don't bet them all personally myself, but something like home runs or doubles, and it's kind of similar to stolen bases too, where they're generally low occurrence events. Even the best hitters, maybe have a 20% chance of hitting a home run on any given day. Like nobody's actually a favorite to hit a home run. Like you're always kind of expecting to lose. So it's all about the odds, of course. That's the case with anything, but especially for these, you're trying to find a spot where like, okay, this guy has a 12% chance to hit a double today, but the book is saying he only has a 4% chance. And so there's some edge there. You're probably still going to lose, but you bet enough of those in volume over time, and that edge is going to show itself.
And the model takes into account the odds, correct? When projecting that, because there's that implied odds and then the model odds, correct?
Yeah, correct.
And then you've got the difference between that, and that's how it calculates, I guess you could say, the EV of the play.
Yeah. That's kind of the nuts and bolts of it.
Do you have any general beliefs or guides about the sport of baseball that go into your projections? To give you an example, we had Corby Craig on talking college basketball, and he talked about how he feels rebounding is so critical when betting college basketball and the importance of targeting programs with a certain amount of height. as a particular edge he has. Is there anything within your world that you look at the sport of baseball through a particular lens that helps guide you?
Baseball is a combination of a whole lot of things. So I'm sure I could point out a whole bunch of things like that where I think, this is something to focus on and this is an edge. A more general one, I'd say, is probably pitch counts for pitchers. There can be a big difference on whether there's value on any of the pitchers' props, strikeouts, outs, runs, walks, hits, whatever, just based on how deep into the game the guy's going to go. Is he coming off a rehab start where he only threw 60 pitches, so he might only throw 75 today, but the book thinks he's going to throw 90? Like, that's a huge edge. So paying attention to that kind of stuff, I think, is definitely important.
There's a Twitter handle that I follow. I think he reports for the Chicago Cubs, but after every pitcher start, he goes through the changes that the pitchers have essentially made, and whether it's the grip or it's the arm angle release of the ball. Does your model factor in any in-season changes by pitchers with how they're throwing the baseball?
Not on that granular level yet. That's something
Okay.
I've been developing. I'm hoping to roll out early this year, but it doesn't do that yet.
Okay.
Can you share that Twitter account? with the
Yeah, I
audience?
definitely will, but I can't remember who it is, but he basically talks just about in-season adjustments that pitchers make and just kind of like the runs that they go on, whether a guy is 4-0 in his last month, and just the tweaks that he's making in his arsenal, whether he's throwing the fastball more or a slider more. Those kind of changes during the season, I think, would be significant to know, when you're betting some of these player props
I completely
mid-season.
agree. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it has to be done the right way. Like, you have to know the quality of the pitch, and there's so much to it.
Yeah.
I've been working on this for years, honestly, trying to get it right. I think I'm pretty close now, so I'm excited about rolling that out because I think it's going to be a pretty significant edge.
Awesome.
You mentioned you focus more on pitcher than hitting when it comes to baseball wagers you make. Is that true?
Yeah.
Why so?
I mean, a lot of it is because so much of what I do is public facing. So if I'm going to do a show for Covers or for Unabated or for wherever, I said before with something like home runs, you really need to bet a lot of them in bulk. You're not just going to bet like one home run prop and like hope for the best because it's probably going to lose. So if I'm on a show and I'm giving out props, giving out one home run prop doesn't really make a lot of sense. Like, I could wind up with a pretty bad record just from bad variance because I didn't do enough of them. Whereas most pitcher props are closer to a 50-50 proposition. They're going to even out a lot, over a smaller sample size. So a lot of it has to do with that. A lot of it just has to do with that's where the projections show a lot of edge. That's not to say there is an edge on hitter props too. I'll certainly do them, especially the ones like the pinch hit stuff I love. But I just think from a content perspective and like a record keeping perspective, pitching has just kind of made more sense for me.
The model I noticed and what I like to use last year, and I've heard you talk about it on previous interviews that you've done, is first 5 innings and team total overruns in first 5 or full game. How does the model project those out, and do you find those to be just as useful as the player props?
I don't focus as much on them as I do on player props, but the bat does project that. It projects it the way you would expect it to. Instead of over a full game, it's going to project the batters against the starting pitcher and against the bullpen. If you're just doing the first 5 innings, assuming that the starter's projected to go the whole 5, that's all the projection's going to be against. If he is projected to come out after 4 innings, then it'll be 4 innings of him and an inning of bullpen. So, you project it the way you expect it to play out. And, general rule of thumb for betting is the more popular a market is, the less edge you're going to have. So if you're betting money lines or game totals, like, I do think they're beatable, but your edge is going to be a lot smaller on them. And the further down you go, the more edge you're going to have. So the next kind of derivative off of that is something like a first 5, where that's going to have more edge than the game totals do. Below that, though, I think the props probably have more edge than the first 5 do.
We found pitcher strikeouts to be particularly profitable last year as a market for us. Do you see it through that lens as well, that there are certain markets on the pitching side where you feel more confident in betting on them versus other markets?
Yeah, strikeouts were one of my go-to markets last year, and I did well with them too. which is a little counterintuitive because, I just said the more popular a market, the less edge you might have on it. Pitcher strikeouts are probably the most popular of all the prop markets for baseball, but there's still edge on them. So, you take what the market gives you, and the market gives us edge on pitcher props or pitcher strikeout props. I will dabble in, walk props and hits allowed props and all that kind of stuff. For people who can play Prize Picks and Underdog, I'm so jealous that you get pitch count props on those sites. I wish normal books would offer that.
We didn't know that.
Yeah, pitch counts are in your model, aren't they?
I know they are, and they should be some big edges. Like over under, this guy going to throw over under 90 pitches or whatever. Like that's. I would love if like your DraftKings and FanDuels and everyone would start offering those, because that I would love to see. But yeah, there's lots of different markets to bet on, and even if it's just the same angle, like okay, I think this guy's not going to go as deep today. I don't see a ton of value on a strikeout prop. Well, maybe there's some on his hits allowed prop or on his walks or whatever. So, I kind of just take wherever the value tends to be.
Yeah, I was going to ask you. There seems to be a similarity between the under strikeouts and the under outs plays on the model. When you recommend betting a player prop, if they both have a significant amount of edge, just which one the model shows as a greater edge?
It depends. I'll see which one has the greater edge, and that's usually the one I'll lean towards. But I'll also kind of try to consider, I don't know, other things as well, a lot of times it's like they're both good plays. I just need to pick one of them. So which one do I feel more confident in? So yeah, it's kind of that. And if you were betting in real life, or not, if you're on the show, I'm restricted. I can't, say, okay, go bet Josiah Gray's under outs and under strikeouts and under walks and under hits. Like, I just think about one. But if you're actually betting them and you're using the model and you're looking at the projections and EV analytics, you might want to say, okay, instead of doing, a full unit on Josiah Gray's strikeouts, maybe I'll do a quarter each on his outs, strikeouts, hits, walks, even out your variance a little bit. If it's all the kind of the same angle anyway.
Is that how you would recommend handling that? Like, is that what you personally would say? Yeah, that's probably the best way.
I do sometimes
when they're correlated like that, but not the exact same.
Yeah.
That's cool.
That's a good question, because I'm a high volume bettor, and that's exactly what I did last year. I would just full unit if the model said under strikeouts, and then whether it was over hits or under outs for all the same player, I just fire on all of them.
But your unit's already a quarter unit, so you're fine.
Yeah.
All right.
No unit shaming on the show.
Do you focus exclusively on individual player performances, or do you dabble in team metrics as well?
Mostly just player stuff for me. I know there's team props out there. I've heard from people who've done really well with them. I haven't really looked into them much myself.
So you don't sit at the beginning of the year, and in addition to your projections for players, you don't have any hot takes on team performance or anything like that based on your work?
So in the preseason, like right now, I have I have season-long projections for every player and for every team. Who are the ones this year that stick out the most, I think? Oh, yeah. It's usually the gross ones.
Oakland A's over 56.5 or whatever, right?
Boy.
Exactly. The Oakland A's is the one I was thinking of. The Oakland A's over, like 56.5 or something. Like the bat hasn't projected for 67 wins. Like that's still not a lot of wins. That's the third fewest in baseball, but it's not 56. And so those are the kind of, in general, just as a general rule when you're betting, like the grosser you think a bet is, if the math supports it, the better the bet it probably is. So yeah, I have no problem betting on the A's over 56.5. Like last year, it really loved the Pirates over, and it really loved the Mets under. Everyone's like, oh man, the Mets are so good. They just won 100 games. They just went out and spent all this money. Of course the Mets are going to go over 93 wins. It's like, the bet's like, no, they're more like 85. And then they were even below that.
I was listening to Joe Sheehan the other week on VSiN, and he was talking about factoring in a team's ability to spend throughout the year when incorporating that into win totals. Is that something you consider in your metrics?
That's one thing that I don't do, and obviously it's important. That's kind of something that I make sure people know when they're using my win totals. Like, this is based on the current roster. These bad teams, the Oakland A's, we like the over. But in July, when they're being terrible, they might trade away a couple of their best players, or like that kind of thing. You want to take into consideration.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw you sent out a tweet before the Bellinger and Snell were even signed, saying just like pump the brakes on the Yankees and possibly the Cubs if you're going to bet the unders on there until we find out where they end up.
Yeah, the Cubs was one that it liked the under for, but they were kind of in the mix for some pieces. I'm not sure where the line is at now, but yeah, that's the kind of thing that a projection only can know what you tell it. It can't know, well, maybe there's a 25% chance that they sign Blake Snell, or maybe there's a chance that at the trade deadline they trade for this guy. Like it's hard to just programmatically put that in.
Sure.
So then, my Cubbies, how do we feel about them, Derek?
Well, I'm looking at 79.8 wins right now.
Yeah, run the numbers.
So my over 84.5 wins that I placed on ESPN bet, not good. Yet.
Personally, I wouldn't make that bet.
Has anyone signed Snell yet?
We just did.
Yeah, Giants.
So, and actually, Derek, I bet the Giants to make the playoffs last night at plus 180 because ESPN Bet was the only book that did not pull their Giants to make the playoffs line at 180. Everybody else pulled it and then moved it to 115 to 125 ish. So
sharp.
Good victory lap.
They're only projected, I think, at 83.5 after the signing, though. I would still bet the under.
So do you play season-long player prop wagers?
I don't do a lot of them. I'll do a couple for fun, maybe. But for the most part, like, there's so many bets that I can make during the season that locking up my money on a bet, before the season just never makes a ton of sense to me.
Yeah.
And I'm always busy before the season too. Like I don't have a ton of time to focus on, okay, which ones are the good ones? Like I'm doing so much to get ready for the season and everything else.
All right. Before we let you go, Derek, any advice for folks wanting to get into using your systems or using your tools? Anything that you might recommend for those who are just hearing about this now and are curious for more?
Yeah. I usually put out a long Twitter thread with some advice at the start of the year. That'll probably be coming out in a few days from now. But a few of the main things that I generally try to recommend to people is like leave your preconceptions at the door. Like I don't care if you're a Yankee fan and you're watching the Yankees game and you want to bet on Garrett Cole over strikeouts. If the value's on under strikeouts, that's what you should be betting on. Don't be afraid to bet unders. Don't be afraid to bet against the good or the popular teams or the popular pitchers. Understand that baseball has a ton of variance. Like we have a long season that can help it even out, but like I've gone on 2-month-long cold streaks. And that's just normal. That will happen at some point. Don't be afraid of that. Make sure you're not pressing during that time. You're not chasing your losses. Just play smart. And follow the math. More than anything else, sports betting is so much more about math than about what you think you know about the sport.
Great.
Love it.
Absolutely. Oh, there. Hello. Love it. All right. Derek, thank you so much for taking the time with us today. You can find Derek on Twitter at Derek Carty. That's DerekCarty. You can get information and access to his tool, along with a variety of other articles and information via Roto Grinders. Find it under the MLB tab. Just look for @bat. Anything else before we let you go, Derek?
No, I think that's all. If anyone has any questions, I'm always more than happy to talk, more than happy to help. Just feel free to reach out.
And then can you give us a real quick schedule or a real quick information on the schedule for the cover show this year?
Yes. So it's not nailed down yet, but I think it's going to be the same as last year. Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday at 9 a.m. And then I'm going to be doing one with Unabated this year also, I think on Thursdays, probably around the same time, but still figuring out some details with all that.
That's going to be awesome. Your Unabated show for football was so clutch last year. I loved it. Watched every episode.
Nice.
Great moneymaker.
Thanks again for joining us, Derek. Good juju to your bets, everyone. We'll talk again next week.